Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show, and I'm here to do another review of Hackney Diamonds, as I got my hideously ugly Gregory 50 and Counting's tour shirt on. So, at least in the United States, they've now put out another edition of Hackney Diamonds. This one is called the Live Edition, a 2 CD set. It actually came out this previous weekend, so I picked it up the weekend it came out, and have been listening to it. Now, gotta tell you, I went into this live version re-release of it with a really bad attitude because I frankly was pretty pissed off about it. I'm getting tired of all of these millions of editions. I understand why they do it because relatively few fans actually purchase, physical copies. They're not really making any money on these things, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. I get it, and nobody puts a gun to my head. But the reality is, you're putting a gun to my head because anybody who is a big fan, who is a completist and a big Rolling Stones fan, and buys physical copies, they know damn well, whether it's Paul McCartney, Taylor Swift, or whoever it is, they know damn well that they're going to buy all these copies. Well, now this is my third one because I'm not getting into that whole vinyl baseball stadium editions and the ridiculousness of that. Anyway, the whole thing's been a bit of a debacle. I ordered the deluxe edition Blu-ray box set directly from the Stones. And if you remember, the album came out in October, right? I didn't actually get this thing in the mail until mid-November, I think it was. So I'm sitting there waiting for the album. I'm like, it's out there. I can YouTube it, but I want the album. And eventually I gave up. And I wound up buying, in October, the regular edition, just because I was desperate to get this thing. And then this finally came in November. We are now in January. So you're talking about the album came out in October, November, December, January. 3 months later, they're releasing now another edition, the live edition. And I saw the footage of the live show like everybody else. I know it was professionally shot, from the Rackett in New York City. Very exciting, promo that they did. Got no problem with that. They do that a lot. And it was great. But when you watched the footage, I was like, this is definitely not the Stones at their best. I didn't think they were playing that great, at least on the raw footage I saw. Jagger sounded great. Jagger's a miracle. But the rest of the band obviously sounded kind of ragged. In some cases, a little lackadaisical, it seemed to me. And it wasn't it was just the live footage. So I was like, why on earth are they releasing this live show? It's going to be like just a non-essential thing. And why didn't they put the DVD out then? Why just the audio? They'll probably put out the DVD version of it at some point as well. And don't forget, they filmed a documentary as well. When is that going to come out? I don't know. So that's the background. I went into this with a chip on my shoulders. But I went to local record store, Looney Tunes. Here, I just bought it. The price was right. $16.99 for a 2 CD live set. I thought that was pretty fair. That was a good price. Yeah, they changed the artwork a little bit. So instead of the heart being that color, now it's blue, so you can get a good look. Back a little bit different because now it's got the extra live show from the Rackett. If you want, I'll show you the booklet. Let's unbox it, shall we? I still don't think the artwork is particularly great. The beginning of the booklet is the same, as the original version. It's got the lyrics. But here's where it gets a little bit different because now you got some live pictures from the Rackett, the show from New York City. That's right in the middle of the booklet. Some more lyrics, and you get that really uninspired center gatefold. That's not even like sharply reproduced. You don't really get that. You do get some other shots. There you go. There's Mick and Keith. And you got Woody, some more Mick. So the booklet's a little bit different, of course. There's Keith and Woody, like the black and white. And you get some credits there, including the live stuff. So here's the live show. It was recorded October 18th. What is it? October 18th, I think it was 2023. And then there's the back. So that's the live show. So here's the thing. When I put it on, I was absolutely shocked how good it is. So here's the set list, 7 songs. They open it up with Shattered. You know, kind of a cool opening because it's New York City, and Shattered is one of the great songs about New York. The lyrics are absolutely phenomenal and hysterical. And I like Shattered. It's a classic song, but I don't ever think it's been a particularly amazing live song. I've seen it multiple times. And this is a good version. It's definitely a good, strong version. They go into Angry, and Angry is awesome on this. It's excellent. Not as powerful as the studio version, but you know, hey, it's way up there. It's great. The ending is real strong as well. Whole Wide World comes next. I happen to really love that song. I think Jagger's vocals on that song are great on the studio version. Somebody of you had told me, confirmed that it's a Cockney accent he uses it. I actually love it. And he does it here as well, and it's great. I actually wish Jagger would sing in that tone of voice more. I think it's really, really appealing. So that you got 3 songs so far, and it's really strong. Tumbling Dice comes next, and it's a good version. The problem with these Stones classics like Tumbling Dice, especially if you're a Stones fan, I mean, I have hundreds of versions of Tumbling Dice live. You know, so when I think about wanting to listen to Tumbling Dice live, I'm not going to be thinking about this version, but you know what? It's good. Bite My Head Off comes next, a great rocker from the album. You know, pure punk rock there. I love it on the studio version because McCartney just sounds like he's having the best time, as do the Stones. And McCartney's really over the top and just awesome on the studio version. Not quite as good with Darryl Jones on this. It's not as raucous, but it's still a really sharp punk version, and it's really good. Jumpin' Jack Flash comes next, and same kind of thing as Tumbling Dice. A million Jumpin' Jack Flash live versions. This one is just okay. Also, like Tumbling Dice, it just seems a little bit... I've heard it many times now. It's fine. It's a good version, but it just... You get that going through the motions kind of feeling, a little bit lackadaisical. Doesn't have the same power as the new tracks. And then you get Sweet Sounds of Heaven, featuring Lady Gaga. It's awesome. It's outstanding. It's the only song on the live here, on the live CD, that's actually probably better than the studio version. But I love the studio version. It's just great. I love when Jagger does that, yeah, oh yeah! You know, he used to do that in Midnight Ramble. He does it here, and you just get chills. It's awesome. So overall, really, I was so pleasantly surprised how good the live album is. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, they did a lot of fixing up on it, overdubs, whatever they did. But I don't have a problem with that. That's what live albums, officially released live albums, are for. You want to hear the way it really was? That's why fans like me buy hundreds of bootlegs. So I don't have a problem with them fixing it up. No, it was shockingly a really good performance. Now, if you have the original album and you're not a completist, do you need to really have this live version? Are you really going to go back and listen to this live album a lot? And I don't think you will. I've heard it, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. I'm done with it now. But I'm glad I have it. $16.99 is not a bad price for 2 CDs. And like I said, it was shockingly a really good sounding live record. And I think I take my hat off again to Andrew Watt. This guy is definitely got to be like the best Stones producer since Jimmy Miller. They sound so alive with him, and he's created a really wide sound scope. You know, I have my surround sound here. This is not in surround sound, but he has a really wide spectrum of sound. You got Keith coming out of the right side and Ronnie Wood out of the left side, and they're completely separate, and I really like that. It kind of almost reminds me of when they used to play with Mick Taylor, which was my favorite part. You could pretty clearly always tell which was the Taylor side and which was the Keith Richards sides, and obviously Taylor's leads are off the chart amazing. I find it really appealing to have the 2 guitars very very different. They're very wide scope. So there's Woody, there's Keith, and it almost takes away from that classic Ron Wood, Keith Richards era where they weave guitars so much you don't know who's playing what, and it's just kind of a jumble sometimes. And that's a really interesting, cool part of the Stone sound, but it's very appealing right now for me to hear them very separated. And the guitar work is good. I'm sure there's a lot of overdubs, but that's okay. Nothing. They don't have any great leads, really. It's not like Mick Taylor years, but they sound really good. So there's my review of the new version of Hackney Diamonds, the live edition. At least I'm honest. I'm one of the world's biggest Rolling Stones fans, but I could be pretty critical of them. As you should be, because if everything is fantastic, then nothing's fantastic. But this was a pleasant surprise. So it's a really good album. Did they really need to release another version, the live edition? Probably not. They're just doing it to drum up sales, and you got another sale out of me and another sale out of a lot of diehard Stones fans who buy, multiple copies of their stuff. I am curious what's going to go on. They have this thing on video, and they certainly could have cleaned up the audio on the video. They do that all the time as well. So I'm not sure why they didn't put the DVD of this instead of just the audio. I'm not sure about that. Does that mean they're going to put out another version? Maybe they'll do like a tour documentary with some live footage, and they'll do the documentary on the making of the album, and then maybe they'll put the Rackett stuff on that at the end of the tour. I'm totally guessing. I have no idea. I do hope that they don't put out another version of this now with the video of it, just that, because that would piss me off even more. So there you go. Let me know what your thoughts are about the Hackney Diamonds live edition that came out this past weekend here in the United States. I know overseas you guys have had it for quite a while, and man, it came in it brought Hackney Diamonds back to #1 in the UK, which is awesome. How extraordinary is that? Here in the U.S., used to be the Stones' biggest market, and I guess per capita not anymore, because the album didn't even go to #1 here in the U.S. the first time or the re-release. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, as always, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your comments. Stay safe, stay healthy. If you're new to my channel, hit subscribe so you get more of my videos. And let me know what you think. And how many versions of Hackney Diamonds have you bought? Because there's a lot of them. But that's about it. I'll see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.